Also Knows Boxing. You're tuning into Tony Also Knows Boxing. I got a lot to talk about. I got a lot to say, and I don't know where to begin, but I know where to begin. You know what I mean? I want to talk about, before I talk about everything else that you see on the heading, I want to talk about the fights that we saw with David Benavidez. David Benavidez versus Yarde. That was an intense, exciting fight. I love what I saw in David Benavidez. He proved that at 175, he still has the power to knock somebody out at in an elite status type of fight. Because I look at Yarde as a fighter that, even though he never won the championship, but he gave Kovalev all he can handle, and he also gave the other fighter, the fighter that he fought before Kovalev. What was the other fighter that he beat? He beat Beterbiev. That's Beterbiev. Now I know that name is is exotic, but Beterbiev was knocked down in the fight against Yarde. He almost came out the victor in that fight when Yarde fought Beterbiev, and he also gave Kovalev all he can handle. And I believe that the way that Benavidez looked in that fight, knocking him out in the 7th round in an impressive fashion, it just proved that now that Benavidez is fighting at a higher weight class, he can't do the same thing that he did when he was at 168. He actually sets up the combinations, and he doesn't just he doesn't go inside without throwing a jab. Now he actually sets up the combinations, and he sets up the knockout. And with those bigger guys, you have to do that. You have to set up the combinations. And I believe that he did his thing. David Benavidez, he looked great in that fight, and he also proved that he can knock out people in that weight class that are naturally big and possibly bigger than him. So I look at it like David Benavidez proved that he is the monster. And I did I like Abdullah Mason's performance, but at the same time I don't like it because I feel like he took unnecessary chances. I said it in the previous video. But Abdullah Mason has some homework to do. He needs to work more on the body. And, if he doesn't have to brawl with somebody, he should use his boxing ability because he has great boxing ability. But he needs to use it more. So we're going to see, as time goes on and time progresses with each opponent, if he gets better at doing that. Because even though you have the skills and you have the IQ, you have to use it when you need to, especially when you're fighting in that ring. And he did good. He won. He got a great victory with Noakes. But if he would have boxed him more, I believe he would have knocked him out. I believe that if Abdullah Mason would have boxed more, he would have knocked out Abdullah Mason. I totally believe that he needs to work on that. And the uppercuts, he did great at the uppercuts, but he needs to do better. He needs to focus on uppercuts more and setting up the jab, using his lateral movement, and timing his opponent and making him miss and making him pay. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. He has to work on those things. But I still like what I saw, but I think he needs to work on that. What else? And as far as Bam Bam Rodriguez versus Martinez, that was impressive. He dominated him most of the fight. It was a unification fight, and he knocked him out in the 10th round. 10th round, yes. I watched most of the fight, and then I watched the replay, and I watched to the 7th round, and then I got to see the last 3 rounds to finish it off because I was doing a video. But I love what I saw of Bam Bam Rodriguez. I would like to see him fight Yanquier Rivera. I don't know if who will win that fight. I think that Bam Bam Rodriguez is the truth, and Yanquier Rivera is somebody that you have to look out for in Puerto Rico, and that would be an interesting matchup down the road. Yes, so let's talk about Subriel Matias. Everybody's looking for an opportunity to say something negative. People that don't like Subriel Matias, like Eddie Hearns and of Matchroom, because they lost against Fresh Production Boxing of Puerto Rico. Subriel Matias' promotional company from Puerto Rico, CEO Juan Ivan Yorango. So they're actually they had their back against the wall, but now everything is coming out into the light. The truth is coming out into the light, and he is clean. Subriel Matias is clean, and I'm going to tell you what's going on. Oh, we got some silly comments over here. Salute from the Bronx, New York. Roly Roll 1234. Thanks for tuning into my channel, my brother. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Somebody wrote Ivy Drip wrote, I'm not sure what you mean. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Subriel Matias tested. He tested negative on November 2nd in Puerto Rico, and that is the B sample that they still didn't show. But actually, the VADA already tested him in Puerto Rico. He already tested him in Puerto Rico. He came out negative in November 2nd. And then as they were promoting the press conference between Dalton Smith and Subriel Matias in Brooklyn, New York, when they did the press conference on November 9th, the VADA was actually waiting while that event was taking place in Barclays Center, the press conference between Subriel Matias and Dalton Smith when they were promoting the fight. And the VADA actually tested Subriel Matias after that event, and they also tested Dalton Smith, and they came out testing. Subriel Matias came out under the 1% manogram, which 1% manogram in New York State is legal and is not considered a performance enhancement advantage. In New York City, you're considered clean, but the VADA always does a promotion. They actually report whatever minimum or maximum amount of ostarine in your blood or your urine. They actually report it. That's their job, VADA. But as far as Subriel Matias is concerned, he is not considered to be using any advantages. It's considered a contamination from the nutriments, and because he didn't even come out, not even 1% manogram of ostarine. It was way below the minimum. So he is going to be exonerated, and the reason why they haven't not reported this and they filtered this, it's possibly maybe because of little vindictiveness or hating. Like actually, Eddie Hearns, Matchroom, they lost against the bid against the Puerto Rican boxing promotion, Fresh Production Boxing. So they're very vindictive. The mainstream media doesn't like the fact that Subriel Matias has been able to control the narrative with a Puerto Rican boxing promotion for the first time in history, that a Puerto Rican boxing promotion brings a boxing event from Puerto Rico to the United States, Barclays Center, and outbid of established promotional company like Matchroom, that Eddie Hearns. So a lot of those things make people upset because they didn't expect that Subriel Matias would get this far. So they're trying to undermine Subriel Matias. The mainstream media, Punch Drunk is trying to undermine him as well. Because Punch Drunk is just a hater. He doesn't like when somebody from Puerto Rico is doing something positive, like Fresh Production Boxing, bringing Subriel Matias, the main event, out of Puerto Rico, and not having the fight stage in Puerto Rico, but bringing the fight from Puerto Rico, a boxing promotion from Puerto Rico, to the States, and they made history. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to talk about the negative stuff. Oh, but the thing is, Subriel Matias, right now, they're actually working on the B samples of his urine, which the VADA already said that it's under the 1% manogram. So, and the New York State Commission actually will allow, even if Subriel Matias had 1% manogram, which he doesn't, he has way below the minimum, and they consider Subriel Matias clean, a boxer that is clean in New York State. So now it's up. We're waiting to see what the Barclays Center of Brooklyn, New York State Athletic Commission says about the results of Subriel Matias, which is way below the minimum and not even a 1% manogram of performance enhancement drugs, of ostarine. It's way below the 1%. So Subriel Matias, the fight will continue in January 10th of 2026, and they have to give the information to the WBC, Jose Suleiman, to decide now that VADA has determined that even though it's the minimum amount of Ostarine, they still have to make the report. They still have to make the report, but the New York State Athletic Commission allows any boxer that has 1% manogram of Ostarine in his system to fight, because it's they consider what happened to Subriel Matias a contamination of nutriments. So Subriel Matias is going to be able to fight on January 10th. He is not he has not cheated. This was something that was filtered by the mainstream, Eddie Hearns, Matchroom, and they just all like Mike Coppinger. They all want to like undermine Subriel Matias and make him look like a cheat, because they don't want Subriel Matias to actually remain champion. Eddie Hearns, they all have power and they can have influence on people, Vader, etc. But most of those nutriments, they have Ostarine, the United States and Canada. So you have to pick like a particular person that doesn't deal with that, and you have to go with a certain company. And they're actually aligning themselves with Memo Heredia. He's the one that said that Subriel Matias is clean, that most of these nutriments have some kind of Ostarine in it, and it was unknowingly, it was a false positive that came out from this last test, with the previous test, the A samples. It was actually a false positive, because there was something that they didn't know that they were taking, that it had Ostarine in it, but now they're being more careful, and that's why it came out so minimal, the Ostarine in his urine, because he wasn't really using it in a way where it was like he knew what he was doing, that he was purposely doing it. It was just something that it was contaminated with whatever he thought wasn't contaminated, was contaminated with Ostarine, but not as much as he like if he was to pick purposely, intentionally, nutriments that do to have an advantage. If he was to actually purposely do that, then he would have had more. But since he didn't purposely do it, he was avoiding anything illegal. And even though he was avoiding most things that were illegal, there was always some little portion of Ostarine. Even though it was minimal, it was still like showed in the test, but it wasn't in a way where it gave him an advantage, because it was very minimal. It didn't even reach the 1%. But which in New York State, if Subriel Matias would have had more than the minimum that he showed, he would still be able to fight in New York State. But VADA actually has to report everything, regardless of what the amount is and what the amount isn't. Even if it's high or if it's low, they still have to report it. But the New York State Athletic Commission, they allow a fighter, any fighter, to fight with 1% manogram of Ostarine. But Subriel Matias had way below the 1%, so we know he wasn't cheating. It's just people don't want to see Subriel Matias actually prevail, because they feel an animosity towards Puerto Ricans being independent and doing things the way they want to, which Eddie Hearns didn't want Fresh Production Boxing to actually take over the boxing event and have control over the event. They wanted to have control over the event to give Dalton Smith advantages due to them having leverage, but they actually undermined and overlooked the Puerto Rican boxing promotion of Fresh Production Boxing of Subriel Matias. And they're trying to undermine anything that Subriel Matias does. They want to take away what is rightfully his and what he earned. He's not a cheater, and he is clean. And right now, they're working on the B samples of his urine, which is actually proven that he didn't have enough manogram of Ostarine to actually consider him a cheat. He's not a cheat. It's just people are actually promoting the negative aspect of Subriel Matias' results when they shouldn't even give the results until both urine tests are available. You have to show both of them, the A test and the B test. The negative one, the test that came out negative, was the A results in Puerto Rico. And then when they tested him in Brooklyn, Barclays Center, on the press conference of November 9th, he came out positive, but it wasn't even 1% of Ostarine. It was way below the 1%. So Subriel Matias, he's a clean fighter. It was just contamination of the nutriments. And now Subriel Matias is going to associate himself with Memo Heredia. to avoid any discrepancies or any minor issues like with what he had now. And the fight will go on. The Barclays Center, Subriel Matias versus Dalton Smith. Subriel Matias is gonna knock out Dalton Smith, give him a no mas tears, and he's gonna knock out Eddie Hearns, and he's gonna knock out Mike Coppinger for putting out that report so prematurely when he should have put it out when both results were available to the public. So now that's a reason for Subriel Matias and his team to actually sue Eddie Hearns, not Eddie Hearns, but sue Mike Coppinger for putting out that information when you didn't have the full results. You only had the results from the you had the B results, but you're putting it out when it's not really decided what they're gonna do about the results, because now the word is that behind the scenes that VADA is gonna reach out to Jose Sulaiman, the WBC, to decide what they're gonna do, because now in New York State Athletic Commission they allow a fight to happen with 1% manogram of aspirin when Subriel Matias has way below the minimum of 1%. So the New York State Commission is going to allow Subriel Matias to fight. But the VADA is actually just reporting what they found. And then the mainstream media and Mike Coppinger and all those people, they're just trying to jump on the bandwagon to make it seem that Subriel Matias is cheating when they don't have the full results, the conclusion of what they decided. They should have, I guess that's the way it is now. They just want people to, they want to stir up controversy. They want people to watch it, and it makes money. And I know a lot of people want to say that. And then we got people like Punch Drunk saying stupid things without even having any facts. He mentioned stuff like, that Subriel Matias got kicked out of his promotion with his Eddie Hearns Matchroom kicked Subriel Matias out of the promotion. He'd never even signed an exclusive deal with Matchroom at all. This guy doesn't get his facts straight. He just likes to have shock value, to have people pay attention and subscribe to his channel. But you're being dishonest to the boxing fans. Punch Drunk. Tony also said it. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. I call it for what it is. I just feel like there's so many positive things to talk about with Subriel Matias. His Fresh Production Boxing of Puerto Rico actually outbidded Matchroom. And it's the first time that a Puerto Rican boxing promotion takes a fight out of Puerto Rico and brings it to the United States in Barclays Center. That's something to celebrate. But no, they want to talk about the negative stuff because they're so negative. They're freaking trolls, and they don't even deserve to even be having a platform that about boxing if they're just gonna bring in the clickbait and just create controversy just because they don't like Subriel Matias. Like Punch Drunk wants to just create any kind of information that's negative to troll somebody he doesn't like, but he don't say anything about Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez ducked Subriel Matias two times, and he was gonna get paid the most money he ever got paid, $3 million in his career. But no, he don't want to talk about that because that's his boyfriend. Punch Drunk doesn't want to say the truth about Teofimo Lopez, but he wants to say lies and spread misinformation about Subriel Matias when Subriel Matias didn't even sign an exclusive deal with Matchroom. Never. But he don't want to talk about the positive things. Like Fresh Production Boxing of Puerto Rico outbidded Matchroom of Eddie Hearns Matchroom. A Puerto Rican boxing company outbidded an elite company like Matchroom by Eddie Hearns. And everybody got their feelings hurt now because a Puerto Rican boxing promotion from Puerto Rico has taken boxing out of Puerto Rico and brought it to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn in the United States. That's something that's never happened with a Puerto Rican boxing promotion. So you got to give credit to Fresh Production Boxing, Ivan Durango, for doing that and believing in Subriel Matias and making sure that the event, a Puerto Rican boxing promotion, wins against a so-called established company like Eddie Hearns Matchroom. So Puerto Ricans are making noise. We're showing that we could be independent, that we could do things on our own. But they don't promote that. They want to promote us like we're inferior and try to criticize and say Subriel Matias was cheating when the manogram was lower than 1%. And in New York, the manogram could be 1% and the fighter is allowed to fight. So there was no ill will with Subriel Matias. He's a clean fighter. And all these haters that are talking bad about Subriel Matias, they need to check themselves. And you know what they need to do? They need to shut down their boxing channel. They're going to talk about stuff that has no relevance to what's really happening. Do your research. Find your stuff. Find out what's going on behind the scenes. I do. You could do it too. All right, let me see what people are saying. Okay, let me read the comments now because I love my fans. I mean, let me read the comments. Salute from the Bronx, New York. Subscribe to the channel, my brother. Roly Roll 1234. Thanks for tuning in. I'm not sure what you mean. Well, then you need to figure it out, son. I can't help you with everything. Sometimes you need to walk in the park by yourself and find the yellow brick road by yourself. If you don't know, I'm not sure. Okay, you find out. Ivy Drip G6W. You find out. Follow the yellow brick road and see where life takes you, man. Sometimes you gotta rise above like a man. I can't tell you everything what I mean. Just keep watching the channel if you want to watch the truth. Yo, this is a drive-by double tap to support you. Take care, Southern California. Albert Y6P. Yo, much love to you, my brother. Shout out to California. Got nothing but love for all my people in California. All my Mexicans, all my Boricuas, all my Dominicans, all my African Americans, all my white people, everybody. We're all a family over here. You know what I mean? We're all a family. We're all here talking about boxing, but boxing could unite and it could divide. So I'd rather make it unite. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect world. We got to speak our mind. Eddie Hearns is hating on Matias. Roly Roll 1234. Yup. Shout out to the Bronx. I'm from Brooklyn. Shout out BK to the Bronx. Much love to you, Roly Roll. Those are facts. Eddie Hearns is hating on Matias. Word up, man. Boricuas always have to fight for what we get because we're true warriors. We never stop fighting for independence. Puerto Rico needs to be independent, a sovereign nation. But you know what? They can't stop us, man. Right now, we're doing things independently in boxing, and they don't like it. They're trying to stop Subriel Matias. They're trying to undermine him, make him look like he's a cheater. He's not a cheater. The people that are actually spreading false information about him, they're the cheaters. They're the liars. Okay, Roly Roll 1234. Number 1 says, back in the 90s, I helped a friend who boxed professional, and I learned that some promoters sign up fighters that can be dangerous and hurt the fighters that they want to win. They sign up fighters that can be dangerous and hurt the fighters that want to win. Yeah, they set them up to lose. And sometimes you gotta start gradually. You gotta put them in competitive fights. But if you set up a fighter to lose, you're not really trying to make them grow. You're trying to really exploit them for your own benefits. Yeah, Roly Roll 1234. They keep the fighters head underwater. Yeah, Roly Roll 1234. They sign them to keep them away from the fighters they want to win. Yeah, because they have a invested interest in the fighter, and if they fight this guy, they're gonna lose their cash cow that they feel like they can make more money out of, but they don't put them in the fights that's gonna actually help them. They put them in a fight to bring up their fighters. That's what Eddie Hearns did with Liam Paro and Subriel Matias. It was all political, man. And you can watch the videos with Subriel Matias alluding to that, but he's not gonna tell you that because they made a deal with him. Eddie Hearns behind the scenes, you know. At let me see. At Huzai Fakan, I give you a challenge for $500. Right. Como Lomo, one of my regulars, me saludo como Lomo, hermanito. Thanks for tuning into the channel, my brother. This is one of my regulars right here. Subriel Matias passed the New York State Athletic Commission minimum standard, but people gonna hate. People always gonna hate, especially on Puerto Ricans. Benavidez the GOAT. Yeah, man, that's my favorite fighter right now, man. Benavidez, Subriel Matias, Keyshawn Davis. Who else, man? Abisai Cotto. That's my personal favorite prospect from Puerto Rico. He's now he's 10-0 with 8 KOs. He did a fantastic job on November 22nd in the Moment of Truth. He beat Felix Caraballo. I'm supposed to interview him as well. He's at the 130-pound division. Okay. So Benavidez the GOAT, says CJK Dino F. Yeah, no doubt, man. He's one of my favorites, man. Shout out to David Benavidez, the monster, man. He did his thing. CJK Dino F, number 2, says, you look like that dude who used to be in the Terror Squad. Well, who? Cuban Link? I get that all the time, man. I actually had some conversations with him. He's a good brother. You know, we talked about some things. CJK Dino of number 2. Didn't Matias just pop? Matias is clean, my brother. He's clean. Como Lomo. Viva Puerto Rico Libre. That's right. Puerto Rico Libre. Check out my music. The Monumental Truth. The new album, Mi Patria Linda, is available on all platforms. I got 4 albums. Check it out. Tony also knows boxing. You check out my music as well on all major platforms. Viva Puerto Rico Libre, como lomo. Saludo, mi hermano. All right. Como lomo Z7S, number 3. Keith Cologne was just batted to the. Oh, he was just added to the Matias card. Yo, I didn't know that, my brother. Thanks for sharing that information, my brother Comolomo. My brother Comolomo just shouted and said in the messages that Keith Cologne was just added to the Matias card. Keith Cologne is a very talented boxer with puncher. I think he's 8-0 with 8 KOs. He's Puerto Rican out of New Jersey. Shout out to him. You know, I wanted to give him an interview, but he refused to give me an interview. I don't know why. I reached out to him on Facebook, but anyway, it don't matter. I wish the brother a lot of success. He's my Boricua brother. I gotta support him. Como Lomo, Z7S. That's a dope ass fight. Oh yeah, dope ass fight. Word, for real. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Check out the background. Check out the background. Look at all the legends. Felix Tito Trinidad. Pedro Luis Ocampo. We got Muhammad Ali. Yeah, I met Muhammad Ali when I was 13 years old in Brooklyn, in Coney Island. It's a humble brother. One of my favorites, man. It's all about the boxing, man. It's about the love for the sport, man. It don't matter where you're from. If you're great, you're great. I support greatness. Roy Jones, Felix Tito Trinidad, Pernell Whitaker, Miguel Cotto, Hector Macho Camacho, a lot of greats. Felix Tito Trinidad, man. Wilfredo Benitez, Wilfredo Gomez, Michael Nunn, man. Michael Nunn. Nobody mentions Michael Nunn. Michael Nunn was a beast, too. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. I'm supposed to interview Joey Borrero, Felix Tito Trinidad's cousin. Again, he's fighting December 20th. Stay tuned for that. I'm trying to do it this Thursday before the Thanksgiving festivities. So, yes, I'm trying to interview him early so he can eat his turkey, too, and his pernil. So, you know, because I don't know. He's probably training because he's fighting December 20th. Joey Borrero, Felix Tito Trinidad's cousin. I'm interviewing him for the second time. God willing, this Thursday, God willing. And Abisael Cotto and Stephanie Peñero, they're all gonna actually give me an interview again. I've been interviewing them. And I'm going to Puerto Rico, so I'm going to do a little countdown, December 11th to the 14th, because I'm going to do a countdown. I'm actually going to go to Puerto Rico, and God willing, I could actually meet up with these boxers over there. And you guys could support me in trying to get 1,000 subscribers before the year's over. Yes, it's Tony Also Knows Boxing Countdown. It starts with December 11th to the 14th. I'm going to do some videos over there, God willing, in Puerto Rico. And I'm not going to have my normal background like I usually do. I'll do the Tony Also Knows Boxing right there in Puerto Rico spontaneously. So you guys can get to see me up in front in personal with Abisael Cotto, God willing, Stephanie Peñero, Yanquier Rivera, all the great prospects that are going to be champions. Yes. Subscribe to that channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. So I'm going to start doing a countdown for December 11th to the 14th, because I'm going to be going to Puerto Rico at that time. So I'm going to do a countdown before that and while I'm in Puerto Rico to see if we could get 1,000 subscribers or more for Tony Also Knows Boxing before the year ends, before 2025 ends. So what do you guys think about that? Thanks for tuning into my channel. I appreciate all the love, everybody tuning into the unadulterated truth of Tony Also Knows Boxing. You don't get it like this anywhere else. You know, this is authentic. A lot of these other boxing content creators, they ain't built like me. They don't say the unadulterated truth. They just want you to clickbait. But they don't get all this information that you really need to know. They just only do it to jump on the bandwagon. They don't do it with the loyalty and the love that I do it with. They just do it like spontaneously. No, they do it more like sporadically. Like they don't actually dedicate their channel to boxing. They try to talk about other things just to get a lot of people to watch their channel. But I talk about boxing because this is a boxing channel. I also talk about life too, and I talk about my music as well. Check out my music on all major platforms. Tony Also on Spotify, The Monumental Truth, The Prodigy of Elvis Campos, Unite the Tribes. You can check out my new album, Mi Patria Linda, es Bomba en Plena, and I sing. And you can also check out one of my songs, You're the One for Me, that I wrote for my wife like 3 years ago. It's a really good R&B, New Jack Swing type of song. You can check that out too. One love. Subscribe to the channel. Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subriel Matias will fight January 10th, 2026, and let the haters hate, and let's see what they're going to talk about now. Now that we got great news for Subriel Matias to come and still defend his belt, and nobody's going to strip his belt away from him because he's not a cheater. Subriel Matias is a clean fighter. Clean fighter. And then they want to actually talk about the bad things. Punch Drunk, and Eddie Hearns, and Mike Coppinger, and Sergio Mora. All these people want to talk about the bad things, but talk about the good things, man. Do not always give somebody the benefit of the doubt before you open your mouth. And then you find out the truth, and then you look like a fool because you opened your mouth just to look for an opportunity to talk bad about somebody because you don't like them, like Punch Drunk. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. I don't apologize for telling the truth. I don't apologize for telling the truth. Punch Drunk told me one time, you gotta apologize for saying those things that you said about me in some video I did like a few years ago. I said, I don't apologize for telling the truth. I mean, if you apologize for making ignorant statements that you didn't have that weren't based on facts and research, then I'll apologize for what I said. But if I don't apologize for telling the truth, that's just the way it is. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Thanks for tuning in, and I appreciate everybody tuning in and giving their comments and their feedback. I appreciate all that. One love to everybody. Peace. I gotta go, but I just left you with that.